What is up, everybody? I am here with Dylan Cease, who is the winner of the first inaugural most swords ever in one season.
Two to Brent Rooker from Dylan Cease, who gets him with a slider.
Baseball Savant is now going to be categorizing sword as an official stat, and Dylan is the winner for 2023. How about that, Mr. Cease?
So this was the first year that they've tracked swords, or they've tracked swords, but this is the first year they're giving the award out?
This is the first year that they've tracked swords. For the history, for everybody out there, I started calling things swords, basically, check swings that get called for a strike, in 2017, and kind of popularized that term. It actually originated from bench warmers.
Hey, don't chop at it. It's not a sword.
And then I was like, that's got to be a category for every one of those kind of ugly swings. And for years, I've been doing that. And then finally, they've officially made it a stat. So I'm proud to have my very own stat. And you should be proud to be the leader in 2023, the first all-time sword leader king, man.
Yeah, I'm glad you made it up. I'll take, after last year, I'll take as many positive awards as I can get. That's just what baseball needs, more stats.
But this is a cool stat. Like, this is a fun
cool stat.
So, like, do you ever think of, is that something that you ever think of? Like, if you see an ugly swing, do you think of it as a sword?
No, more in the moment, I'm probably thinking, is the umpire going to call that? Because from my point of view, I would say, and I know I'm biased, like 8 out of 10 of them look like they're swings, and then I'll go in and it's like, oh, okay, maybe not. But no, I'm probably just more thinking, am I going to get this thing called or not?
Do you remember any particularly nasty swords during the year that you might have racked up?
Off the top of my head, there's one that wasn't called a strike. It was against Freddie Freeman. I think that, and it's obviously not a sword because it wasn't called a strike, but I think the ones that aren't called maybe stick out more. The Tatis ones, definitely, I remember. But yeah, there aren't too many that really stick out.
Off camera, we were talking about this, and I want to touch on it. I'm looking down the guys that we've categorized swords against, or Baseball Savant has, and it's like Acuna, Devers, J-Ram, Tatis, Trout, Yordan Alvarez. Like, those are some of the best hitters in baseball. What do you think makes a hitter sword? What are the main characteristics of that from your standpoint? Like, how do you cause a sword?
I think the hitter's reading a heater, and if my slider's good and it's coming out of the hand good, it's going to look like a heater down the middle, essentially. So I think they're seeing the heater, they're being aggressive. All the stud hitters are aggressive. They're trying to drive the ball. And if it's well executed, it's going to look like it's down the middle, and it's just going to end up, at their ankles. And it's kind of just that, it's too late.
Is that something you read? So if you see an ugly swing, a sword, is that something like, hey, I got that guy? Is there anything extra special about it in your head? Like, I must be in their heads.
If it's like 0-0 early in the count, it's kind of like a, man, you just swung at a ball in the dirt moment. But for the most part, big league hitters are pretty smart, and they have good game plans, and they adjust. So a lot of times it's really just not reinventing the wheel. And if you throw a slider to a good spot, a big thing with sliders really is, if you throw one, let's just say it's bottom of the zone and you get a good swing and miss, you don't want to raise it up ever, because it's going to, pop to the hitter. So to make sure to throw it to that same spot or even lower would probably be the biggest thing.
And does tunneling have some kind of effect in that? I mean, is that something you're purposefully doing? You're looking at it as, this is my fastball tunnel, I'm going to throw a slider in there, and basically the hitter's got a gas.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a big thing with it is count leverage. If it's 0-2, 1-2, and they really, they have to protect the plate, then that slider is even harder to lay off of.
It looked like you were struggling at some point early in the season with your slider, getting it to move with your characteristic filthiness. And then it seemed later in the year you kind of found it. And I at one point said, it looks like Cease found his slider and everybody needs to watch out. Did you feel that?
Yeah, it was a pretty inconsistent year. I went through stretches where I was pretty good, and then I went through stretches where I didn't have a feel for it. But towards the end, I want to say the last 4 starts of the season or so, I got in a good rhythm, and it was kind of back to that automatic where, you know, I could start it higher for a strike and lower for a strike to ball, which is, you know, that's the name of the game, is being able to execute pitches. So yeah, it was a bit more of a struggle type of year last year.
Off camera, we talked about one at bat specifically, and I went back through a lot of your swords. I mean, I looked at them all, and I thought that at bat against Tatis was one of the weirdest at bats I remember. Like, he had no clue what he was doing that entire at bat. And it looked like I think there were 5 times that he either checked the swing or went. And
Yeah.
it was just absurd. What did you feel on the bump?
Yeah, you know, I just remember it. How would I describe it? I mean, it's one of those things where it's a kind of confidence booster. You know, if they're chasing you out of the zone like that, and obviously not reading it, then it really kind of opens up everything, because they're caught in between. So if you go 97 away, they're probably going to foul it off or swing and miss. And then when you throw a nasty slider, they you know, it's very difficult. So that was a specific at bat where he just wasn't reading it.
You're a poet. Are you going to write a poem about swords?
I don't know if I would say I'm a poet. I think we can make something happen.
So let's go over your slider grip. What's the key to making your slider nasty?
Really, I would say using my body and my legs well, and the arm is really just sort of relaxed and just the last part of the sequence. Really, I'm not thinking turn it, do anything other than throw it like a heater and throw it hard. In 2022, it was sort of getting cuttery, and I was just, the first thing I tried a new grip, and it turned into my slider somehow. So I got really fortunate that usually, you know, things like that might take a while to tinker with, but it was like, I don't know, it was just meant to be. I changed the grip, and I went from, I want to say I was kind of higher up on the ball like this maybe, and then I just really buried my hand down on there like that. And yeah, now I just really just rip it, and you know, relax my arm and don't think about it ideally.
How do you feel like it comes off your hand? Is it more, it's a more of a gyro type slider than like a sweeping slider?
I mean, it kind of feels like it's, I don't know, my arm is like relaxed when I release it. It really just feels like my arm is naturally sort of doing the you know, the spiral or whatever, and I'm kind of just holding on to it and letting it do its thing.
And when it's not going well, what do you feel? Is it releasing it at the right time? Is it what, it just doesn't feel right? What happens?
It's almost like I'm not putting my arm in the right position. Something with my body is happening, or some timing, something's off, to where when it's going right, it's the most effortless. I can do it with my eyes closed. And when it's, you know, not synced up, it's like it's impossible. So when it's not going right, it really can depend. Sometimes it just feels like they just don't spin well out of the hand. Sometimes it's like you're not getting any power on them. It'll be like you throw it as hard as you can, and it's like 85. When it's synced up, it's hard, it's sharp, it's late. Yeah, and I wish I had a better answer as to what the difference was, because then I would never not have them synced up. But I think that's just probably a part of getting more reps with it, and you know, just staying on top of mechanics and everything like that.
When you found your new grip, how did you figure that out?
I just tinkered with it. I just I don't know, I just moved my hand deeper on the ball, and I think I know the start, it was 2022, it was my start against the Cubs, and I threw some first innings, some super nasty ones to, I want to say it was Morel and then Contreras. I mean, a disgusting one to Contreras. And I went back and watched it on the iPad. I was like, man, that thing looked like a wiffle ball. Where's that been all my life? And then obviously that pitch led me to a really good run in 22.
I think you had one at bat also with J-Ram, where you had a couple of swords against him too. And for a great hitter like that, you know, again, does that like pump you up? Does that help you carry you through the game? Yeah, just a little bit like, hey, that was nasty.
I don't know. In the moment, really, it's just a battle, and it's, you know, as much as they can look bad on one pitch, you know, the next one they can take you deep. So really, in the game, I'm just focused, and you know, it don't get me wrong, it feels much better than them, you know, hitting it hard or whatever. But I wouldn't say it's changing a whole lot. Now, if I have a game where it's like they're consistently, I'm throwing them in the zone and they're swinging and missing, then I'm like, okay, either they're not reading it or something's happening with it. But it's not something that I'm super, super focused on. I'm not going in the dugout and being like, hey, did you guys see that? I had 8 of those, maybe after the game, but yeah, definitely not during the game.
I was curious, does that ever happen? Like you get back to the dugout and somebody says, dude, you made that guy look stupid.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely happened, and every once in a while there might be a laugh or whatever, but I just think there's so many games, and it's such a difficult game too. And, half the time our guys are doing the same thing. It really just, when it comes down to it, I think it's just part of the game. I laugh more from my slow changeups than anything else.
I do love that pitch though. I mean, that is one of my favorite ones to watch just because it's comically slow. Like it is so
It's
much slower
ridiculous.
than it is ridiculous.
Absolutely.
And that's something that I remember it was kind of like is it a modified split or something like that?
Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm working with. And then I just lollipop it. But I got Gosman's grip. I'm gonna see if I can learn that thing this offseason. Not spending too much time on it, but I'm just kind of mixing it in there. So one of these days I'm gonna get something that goes like that. I'm telling you, man. One of these days.
Dude, everybody's stealing Gosman's grip. Like Kirby stole it last year too. And I think Hurston Waldrop maybe for Florida took it too. Like everybody's like studying Gosman because that is a disgusting. It is really.
If it ends up sticking, I'll even call it the Gosman splitter on my profile. Even MLB The Show and say Gosman splitter.
So I also noticed 2 swords you had one on Devers and one on Jordan on fastballs. Are those just cases of somebody hunting a slider and then they get, whoa, that's a fastball and they just can't do anything about it? Or is it movement on your fastball, you think?
I think it's both. When it's going right, I get really good rides. So it can look like it's down the middle, but end up, being at the neck or whatever. So it's hard for me to say because obviously I'm not in the box seeing it, but I probably threw a couple sliders, or they got the slider in their mind because I know that's my biggest swing and miss pitch. And then when it's, a firm fastball in a good spot, it's difficult as well.
Do you ever get to talk to hitters about like what they're seeing off you?
Yeah, I have. The answers can range from really inspiring to really demoralizing. So it's always interesting.
What's a demoralizing thing?
Hey, yeah, they're picking it up easier today. I don't know. They're picking it up, or we can't see the ball. It's you never know. You never know. Usually it's easy to tell based on the results you're getting though.
Is there any deception you feel in your windup or your release? Are you focused on hiding the ball at all? Or is that just something that you don't think anything about, or no one's ever told you you're particularly deceptive? It's just hard to read the spin.
Yeah, when I'm staying closed better, it's definitely harder to see. I had a little bit of an issue of opening up this year, but I don't know. I don't think deception is necessarily the biggest part of my game. I know I'm pretty quick arm swinging, so I think I can kind of maybe jump on guys a little bit with that. But the only thing would be, if I've stayed closed well, it's probably a little bit harder to pick up.
And one last question, and I've asked this of a few pitchers and hitters. Do you feel like hitters can pick up spin, or is it mostly picking up on something else?
I think it depends on the hitter. Some hitters are much better at picking up spin than others. They all definitely can. It's just some seem to really, some see curveballs better, some see sliders better, some are better on, certain locations. So it's all really just kind of a crapshoot.
Awesome. Well, anyway, congrats on your sword. I want to see that neon sword when you get it. It's going to be sweet.
Do you have a picture of it?
I'll send it to you.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet, and I believe it's decently sizable too. So it'll make an impression, and just need a special spot for it. It's better than any of these like Cy Young Award trophies or anything like that, right? Like,
if it's got the cool factor, it's a 1 of 1. How many Cy Youngs have there been? Think about that. There's one sword, a lot of Cy Youngs. So if you're talking about scarcity, the sword is what you want.
I like the way you think. And again, the first of many sword awards. Maybe you'll win them all. Like you may be the, I don't know, the Greg Maddux of swords or something like that.
I wouldn't hate it. I definitely wouldn't hate it.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for coming on, and everybody cheer for the man, Dylan. He's awesome.
Thank
Good
you.
work, sir.